Yeah, at least a couple of times. Well, you can't go wrong, I guess, if you do it more. You know, I'm retired, so yeah, I'm not out there. Um, no, I don't do it. I don't do it anymore. Pretty much. All right, let me see. Let me see if Google. Let me check. That was YouTube, and they're very restrictive. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we can wrangle up. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Okay, the most famous bass riffs, only the bass soundtrack for a drummer. Bom 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 bom, bom 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 bom. How about bom 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 bom?
Nothing gives you more than Domino's $6.99 pizzas, especially burgers. Wait, go back. That's better.
Don't let your vacation rental and your Airbnb get booked on Booking.com.
There you
You're learning bass? Play me something.
Oh crap. What the hell should you play to impress someone? Some bass shredder licks ought to do it, right? Wrong. Normal people are immune to the charms of extreme shreds. So you try learning a bass line from a popular song. That ought to do it, right? But most bass lines that work great in the song sound really boring by themselves. So what the hell should you play? That's a good question, and I went on a mission to find out. First, I made a gigantic list of the most popular Play Me Something riffs, pulling from forums, Reddit, and real life. Then I recruited non-musicians of different ages and backgrounds to listen to dozens and dozens of riffs and rate which ones they actually found impressive. Out of all those riffs, there were 7 the normies just couldn't get enough of. 7 riffs that actually made them go, whoa, that's cool, even without a backing track. And what's funny is some of my favorite riffs, like Don't Stop Believin', or Money, did not make the cut. So if you learn these 7 riffs, you'll be insured for life to impress anyone who asks you to play something. And the 7th most impressive riff was a surprising choice to me, because the first song wouldn't be all that thrilling, but all the fans loved it. This riff was a blast from the 1958 featuring a tasty, danceable rhythm, and it sounds a little something like... This riff is easy enough, but if you don't get this not so subtle detail right, it won't actually be impressive. You'll be disappointed in the results. Try and I'll be out in the streets. It sounds bad, right? That's because no matter what you're playing, if you want to impress, you gotta sound confident. You don't actually have to be confident, you just sound confident. And the best way to project confidence to your listener is to play with solid rhythm. Without it, it doesn't really matter what cool notes you're playing, because they're not gonna feel good. So this riff is a great way to train yourself up to be confident in rhythm, because it uses a simple mix of quarter and eighth notes, which is music mumbo jumbo for nerds. Basically, it's not too complex to get solid, even as a beginner. And you can actually get away with a handful of different versions of the notes in this riff, so you don't even have to learn it perfectly. In the original bass line, whether you check the Richie Valens track or the popular Los Lobos cover, the bass players are doing tons of variations as the song goes. So you could play this, or this. As long as the average person thinks it sounds like La Bamba, or even La 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 Lasagna, they're gonna be stoked and think you're amazing. But they'll think your one sounds even more amazing if you can nail this 6th most impressive riff, according to the official and incontrovertible data of our incredibly scientific tests. Because La Bamba is fine, but it's a little on the dorky side, and you might want something a little more balanced. And baseline number 6 is hard to beat. It. But it takes more than just playing the notes. Press someone. Can you tell what's going wrong here?
Beat it!
Well, it's a rock song, right? Do I seem to be rocking? Not really. Because the secret to really hitting beat at full steam is to play with attitude. And most teachers would just say that and then expect you to go figure out what it means, but there are 2 measurable ways that you can sell the attitude of this riff. First, you've got to nail that saucy bass line, which is covered in the free tab in the description. Oh, and who left that like button down there? And second is something even pro musicians who don't really play rock tend to get wrong, which is you gotta dig in and hit hard. When you hit the strings with more intensity, you subtly change the sound of the notes and you fill in that attitude that we call rock. So if you really want to impress someone with this, you gotta slam that open E, wake them the fuck up, and some serious juice. That's the intensity of that guitar riff, played by Steve Lukather, also amazing. Both train good beginner bass players. Territory and tackling some tougher riffs that'll blow minds even harder. But I'll give you some tweaks along the way that'll make them more playable, whatever your level. So this next riff is a great way to impress your metal friends, but it also did surprisingly well with normal non-metalheads. From this band's classic second album, released in 1986, coming in at number 5 on the Normie Normison Killer Riffs charts. So how do you make sure it actually comes off as impressive when you play this riff? Same rules apply. You nail the confidence with rhythm, you nail the attitude by hitting hard. But because this riff is a notch higher in difficulty, you run the risk of breaking another sacred rule of impressing the normies. You know when someone shows you something they're working on, but it just seems like they're trying really hard and you just feel awkward for them? Same thing happens if you choose riffs you can't play comfortably, except now you're the someone. Perception is 9/10 of the law, so whatever riffs you add to your Impress People kit, you gotta really put in the time so you don't look like you're struggling. Check out Dave Ellefson playing this live. He's effortlessly rocking out, even though it's a kind of tricky riff. And you might also notice he's playing with a pick and not with his fingers. You can play this riff with your fingers, it'll still sound cool. But using a pick just gives you full Ellefson attitude. So which should you use? Well, the pick is the right choice based on the original song. The actual right choice is whichever one you're more comfortable with, because then you'll seem more confident and impressive. But staying in your comfort zone doesn't have to stay more advanced riffs. You can also modify more advanced riffs for your current level. Like in Peace Sells, I think we can all agree the hardest part of those little quick notes. Which riffs people would find most impressive, I assume there'd be a lot of sing-along riffs in the mix, because people love a good sing-along, they love a big chorus they can sing with, like, don't stop believing. Like, I thought that was going to totally smash, and I really hoped it would, because it's unironically one of my favorite songs, but it actually didn't do that well compared to more active bass-heavy riffs. Like the next riff up, the fourth most impressive Play Me Something riff, comes from a section of the song with no lyrics. The riff itself's not even particularly singable, but it works because it's a familiar bass-heavy song from a famous band known around the world. How easily it can sound unimpressive. What do you think is missing?
King Crimson.
Same emphasis, but the original riff has some accented notes, notes that get more emphasis and but there is a bit of a magic trick you can do to sound more confident and badass when playing this without actually playing any better, and it turns this into this. Oh yeah. Me not learning the guitar when I was younger, because I just thought whatever crap I was playing already sounded amazing. So distortion will help you sound more like the original song, and you'll automatically come off twice as badass. The third is loaded with fast notes that take way more endurance to play because they just keep going, from 2003's Absolution record. below, we talked about how important it is to nail rhythms so that you project confidence. Well, there's another way to an impressive in relation to each other, but the pulse, the tempo, is slowing down gradually. And that's what happened on this riff. Because Chris Wolfson garage for multiple even just playing once, you get burnt out if you're not fully prepared. Luckily, there are a couple tricks to avoid this. First of all, make sure you start at a doable tempo. Even if it's a little slower than the original, probably nobody's gonna notice as long as it's still recognizable and you don't slow down once or twice. Second, the tricks will help you no matter what you're playing. You know how the song starts with just bass and the drums come after? If you're playing it slow, is to imagine the drum. Anymore, but normies, young and old, all thought this riff was decidedly yes, this riff is the bee's knees, but man, have I heard it played badly so many times, many of them by me. Like, does this sound impressive to you? Probably won't sound impressive to anyone else either. Let's face it, normies don't care about the level of details that us music nerds like to nerd about, but they will notice if your playing is too sloppy because you'll look like you're struggling, and also they might not even recognize what riff you're supposed to be playing. And most unfortunately for us impatient dummies, the secret is when you're first learning it. I know, it's really boring, it sounds boring, it is boring. All you want to do is play it at the flat on day one. But if you want to actually wire your skills correctly in your brain, and any chance of progressing everyone, let's take it slow. And besides avoiding slop, there are a few details you need to get right if your friend actually is a music. People often mess up the hammer on the first notes in the riff, so there's a tab and a bonus for all these riffs. And now this moment has arrived. We're finally slap bass, beating out higher ground, and even the Seinfeld theme, if you can imagine it. According to our pinnacle of science, the most impressive 30-something riff is. Specifically, it's going to sound like this. It's bad. So you could put a bunch of work into your slap technique just to play this riff, or keep learning more inspiring songs like the songs you should learn on bass, from super new up to roundabout and hysteria level. But I just can't stop.
No, Matt. Yeah, Matt. I think Matt was trained in a college of percussion. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, he's from Red Hots. Yeah, the Chili Peps. And Play the Bass. Hope it wasn't boring. I learned a lot. I got a little muscle memory. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, people. Bye.